Well, welcome back to Let's Discuss by John Barba. Um, so today's discussion is actually back to the Vatican and the recent move that the Pope made to sanction Cardinal Burke. When I did my video a couple of weeks ago about his removal of Bishop Strickland, I did it in haste and was because I was very disturbed and quite frankly angry. And that's not the purpose for these discussions. The purpose for these discussions is to discuss things. And I actually waited for a while to post this video. I didn't do it yesterday or the day before simply because I wanted to see what came out of the Vatican about this particular sanction against the cardinal. Um, and yes, the cardinal has been uh, a dissenter of uh, Pope Francis because he, like so many others, including myself, believe in traditional Catholic teachings. And I was really hoping because I love Mother Church and I want to see Mother Church live up to its name. I mean, the Catholic Church, Catholic in Greek is universal. It's supposed to be the universal church. Now, obviously, it is not. Um, but the church here on earth should be about bringing people in, right? Bringing people to the faith, bringing people closer to God, um, bringing them fulfillment and love of the scriptures and love for one another. And I was really hoping that the Vatican would make some statements clarifying these sanctions against Cardinal Burke so that I could better understand um, and maybe even support some of these decisions. But unfortunately, after a few days here, the Vatican actually has no statement and won't discuss why they are making or why the Pope made these decisions with Bishop Strickland and Cardinal Burke. And you know, it's obviously very bad optics, horrible optics for the church. Okay, the only things that are coming out are these anonymous um, comments by people that were supposedly in this meeting about how Cardinal Burke was creating disunity in the church. But here's the truth. If the Pope is supposed to be the leader of the Catholic Church and he's making discretionary decisions to push away dissenters, um, and everyone needs to remember two things went on at the same time. Um, what a week and a half ago, and that is the Pope had a a private meeting with basically his supporters in the Catholic Church, and Cardinal Burke did have an unsanctioned meeting of these conservative leaders in the church. Well, yeah, that does show um, disunity. Okay, let's be honest and be fair here. It does show disunity that Cardinal Burke would have this unsanctioned meeting of conservatives, but if the Pope is the leader of the church, why wasn't Cardinal Burke and some of these dissenters part of this private meeting that the Vatican doesn't want to talk about, right? Why would you exclude people that have a differing point of view in a universal church? Why would you do that? The optics say that, based on the Pope's liberation theology, if you're not on board with these Marxist views, you don't get to participate in the church, regardless of who you are. Remember, Cardinal Burke was, for lack of a better term, he had been placed in a very high position in the Vatican by Benedict the 16th, in kind of like the Vatican Supreme Court, okay, for canon law. And, almost immediately after Pope Francis took the throne, he got rid of Burke. He gave him a kind of a honorary position over the Knights of Malta, which is a figurehead position. It really has no authority. And the Pope went on, by the way, after that to appoint two other people to basically take over what few responsibilities that Cardinal Burke had with the Knights of Malta. And so, all of this just screams it screams that leadership wants to quiet any dissent instead of having a discussion about the theology of Catholicism, the teachings of Jesus, and the words of the Bible. If you can't have a discussion about those things, if you can't have discussions with those that don't agree with you on changes that need to occur within the church, then you're closed-minded and you actually don't care. I've seen this quote, and it's kind of tyrannical. And the 2,000 years of the church, there have been many popes that have been tyrannical, and they have made very, very poor decisions, and they weren't based on faith. They were based on politics. And I want to extend a request to my Catholic brethren that watch this, and to those that are not Catholic but do believe in the Christian faith and the strength of the churches here on earth, to truly support the teachings of Jesus. We have to pray for the church. We have to pray for the church, because the disunity in the church is not being caused by Bishop Strickland, and it's not being caused by Cardinal Burke. It's being caused by Pope Francis being unwilling to listen to or allow differing opinions to be part of the changes in the church that always happen, and quite frankly have needed to happen. I can go into a long diatribe about the history of the Catholic Church and all the things that they did wrong. And if you are an honest Catholic, you know that the papacy is not always right, because it's run by a person. It's a human being. And though we believe he's in direct communication with God, he's still a human being, and he still is fallible. And so we have to pray that people get back to the true teachings of the faith. Now, if I know, then here's another piece that let's be honest and have a conversation about, or we need to discuss. I keep seeing little quotes about the gay and lesbian community and same-sex marriage and things like that, that the more traditional Catholics are opposed to in the Catholic Church, because that's been the teaching. And I also will personally tell you that I have friends and family that are part of the gay and lesbian community that are very devout in their Catholic faith. Okay? And when our teachings primarily have been about love thy neighbor, yeah, I can understand, again, being open and honest here, because I want open and honest discussions on this channel. To be open and honest, how can you tell someone simply because of their some of their life choices that affect them personally and not the others around them, that they can't participate in communion with God? Now, that's hard, because I do know, and I cannot quote them, I need to do better myself, but I do know that there are specific passages in the Bible that um, plainly state that that is not God's will. But these are also people of God. God created them, and therefore, you know, there's there is something to discuss here. It's something that, even as a very traditional Catholic, I think that there needs to be an open and honest dialogue about it. But this is not the way to do it. You don't do it through tyranny. You don't do it by silencing dissenters. You don't do it by shutting down opposition. You do it by having a dialogue of faith. You do it in a way that brings us together as the universal church, not pushing your brethren aside. So again, I ask you all, pray for Mother Church. Pray for God's guidance in their decisions. Pray that this Marxist theology that has invaded the Vatican um, doesn't destroy what so many good people over the centuries have tried to do in bringing the Word of God to the people here on earth. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that there's plenty of things that we can talk about that the Catholic Church has done wrong. Um, but there's a whole lot of things, so many more positive things that the Catholic Church has done here on earth to spread the gospel, to bring love, to teach forgiveness, and to bring people closer to the path of Jesus than I think any other church. I'm biased because I'm Catholic, okay? And because I believe in our teachings, our traditional teachings. I believe in them. I also believe that if we are to love God above all other gods, which includes money and possessions and politics, and one of the primary things God asks us to do is to love thy neighbor, then there are some things that we need to have a true dialogue about and come to an understanding of faith. And join me in praying that the church does that and gets away from the horrible optics that are creating real disunity in the church. Pray that Pope Francis sees the light and pulls away from this darkness in his heart that says there's no other opinions but his. Um, that's not what God asks us to do. I hope you have a blessed Wednesday, a fantastic rest of your week, and I certainly hope that tomorrow's video will be something slightly more positive. Maybe we'll follow up on those Christmas movies because we need some joy in our lives, not division. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.